What even is a macronutrient, and how can you use it to your advantage when it comes to losing weight? This is everything that's going to be broken down to you in this video. Understanding macronutrients, understanding their calorie values, what they provide for you, and what you should focus on if your goal is to lose weight. By the end of this video, when you know stuff like this, you're going to walk away with a much better understanding of what you should be prioritizing within your meals, what you should be tracking, and how you can get the most out of your food when it comes to losing weight. So firstly, what are the 3 macronutrients? There's technically 4 if you include alcohol, but these are the 3 main ones. You've got protein, this is some beef mince, you've got carbohydrates, some bread, and you've got fats, and that's a little bit of oil. Each one of these is 200 calories of that macronutrient. 200 calories of protein, 200 calories of carbs, and 200 calories of fats. Let's start with this one, fats. The first point to note with fats is they are quite calorie dense. You can see 200 calories isn't a lot at all. These are generally going to be foods that you add to your meals, and it isn't always the main ingredient. Think oil, think butter, think sauce, avocado, nuts. Every 1 gram of fats holds on to 9 calories. So let's say, for example, you have 100 grams of fats in your diet per day. That's going to be 900 calories coming from that macronutrient. Fats do have a lot of benefits when it comes to losing weight and in general. Firstly, for women, fats plays a big role in hormone production and regulation. It's why it's still important to have that as part of a controlled diet. Our body also uses fats as an energy source when we're doing steady state stuff. Something gentle like going for a walk. Also when doing longer endurance stuff, like going for a cycle, for example. To not get into too much detail, our body oxidizes fats. And then when we do these steady state things, it uses it as an energy source. You've probably heard before the fat burning zone. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking if you're in the fat burning zone, you're going to be losing body fat. But that's not the case. It's just your body using fats as an energy source for that thing. So when it comes to losing weight, you do need to be careful of these types of foods because generally they're the easy ones to overconsume. They're also the ones that a lot of people forget to track. Again, like I said, oils, butter, sauces, condiments that sort of get slipped to the side. Next up, let's look at carbohydrates. For every 1 gram of carbs, it holds on to 4 calories, so a lot less than what fats have. You can highly imagine that at some point of your life when you've been on a diet or you've tried losing weight, the first point of call is to remove carbs. For some reason, they've got a bad name for themselves. I have no idea why. These are actually very beneficial to include into your diet when it comes to losing weight. Similar to fats, our body uses carbs as an energy source. In a slightly different way though. When we're doing higher intensity stuff, like going for a faster run or strength training, we would typically use carbs as an energy source. With my clients, I also think the reason they can be so consistent and they can adhere to the diet long term is because we don't remove carbohydrates. If you look at your diet right now, you think, sandwiches, pasta, rice, enjoy a slice of cake on the weekend, have a bit of chocolate, have some fruit, which also comes under carbs. Imagine removing all of that from your diet and trying to be consistent. It wouldn't work, or it would work for a short period of time, and then generally people revert. I would highly advise against that because, as I said, these are very important. And then lastly, we have protein. Similar to carbohydrates, for every 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. I like to look at protein as the king of macronutrients when it comes to losing weight and also building muscle too. And there's a few reasons why, which we're going to dive deeper into. From a weight loss perspective, protein is very important because it's very satiating. Satiating basically means it keeps you full. So when you're having high protein within your meals and within your snacks, you would generally find that you're staying more full. You don't get as hungry. And obviously as part of a weight loss journey, being hungry is a small byproduct. It's a byproduct of being in a calorie deficit. So eating high protein really does help. The other factor is something called thermic effect of food. In English, that basically means the digestion of food. When it's being broken down in your body, it requires energy. So when you eat any type of food, you burn calories eating that food, digesting it. Each macronutrient has a different thermic effect. Roughly, protein is 30%, carbs is 10%, and fats is 3%. So what that means is through digestion, 30%, 10%, 3% of the calories are burnt. Let's make this really easy to understand. If you had 100 calories of fats, your body would burn 3% of them, 3 calories. If you had 100 grams of carbohydrates, your body would burn 10%. 10 calories. If you had 100 calories of protein, your body would burn around 30%, which would be 30 calories. So the more protein that you're eating, the more calories that your body is burning through digesting that food. That's why typically if you took 2 people in the same percentage of a calorie deficit, one of them was eating 120 grams of protein per day, and one of them was eating 20 grams of protein per day, this person eating more protein would generally find that diet a lot easier to stick to and they would typically lose more weight as well because their thermic effect is a lot higher. This person would probably constantly be hungry and would really struggle to stick to it, and their thermic effect would be a little bit lower. So how do we take all three of those macronutrients and put it into the perfect diet when it comes to losing weight? To be honest, you don't really need to think like that. A lot of people talk about the perfect macronutrient split when it comes to losing weight, building muscle, or toning up. That's just very overwhelming to think about. You don't need specific targets for every macronutrient. You don't need to think, I need to eat 47 grams of fat today, or I need to eat 212 grams of carbs, or 141 grams of protein. For you who just wants to lose a little bit of weight, that's too far. Maybe if you have someone that's a bodybuilder and they're 7% body fat and they're going to be stepping on stage in 2 weeks' time, you would potentially look at that. If you're wanting to lose weight and tone up, these are the two things that you need to control. Number one, your overall calorie intake. That is by far the most important thing that is ever gonna matter when it comes to losing weight. I will die on the hill talking about that. That's target number one. Target number two is the protein. I went through all of the benefits and why it's so important, so realistically, it would be stupid not to focus on it. When you nail those two things, your protein, let's say you're aiming for 100 grams a day, and we know that every 1 gram is 4 calories, that's going to take up 400 calories of your day. You've hit that number and everything is good. You would then have a remainder of calories. Let's say you're aiming for 1,500. 400 of them have been taken up. You've got then 1,100 for your carbs and fats. You can organize them to your personal preference to fill the rest of the calories. Like we said, you need to be careful with a higher fat diet. It means you can't typically eat as much food. Of course, it's still important to include, but I would be wary of how many you're having. But you can play around with that. The rest of your calories can be filled with these two. Obviously, including all three macronutrients as part of a controlled diet is very important. But when it comes to losing weight, like I said, you've got to control your calorie intake. And then all I would focus on is a protein goal. And I would make that a range. So instead of a specific number like 111, I would set a range to fall into of 100 grams to 120 grams. Anything in between there is perfect. That's two things that you can be consistent with every day, and it's gonna help you see weight loss results. But understanding the importance of each macronutrient a little bit more allows you to understand what you should be prioritizing and why you're actually doing that. So hopefully this video helped you understand all of that a little bit further. And if you wanna see more videos like this and longer form content with me speaking through nutrition, weight loss, and training, make sure you subscribe, and I would really appreciate it.